Welcome into another edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time, and you're going to do it in 2024. I've got confidence in you with the help of myphdweightloss.com. With 6 days to go until New Hampshire's Republican presidential primary, a new poll indicates that former President Trump remains the clear front runner, with former ambassador and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in a firm second place, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in a distant third. The race is tightening up in second. Of course, Trump has a commanding lead to win New Hampshire, just as he did in Iowa. A judge threatened to bar former President Trump from his civil trial that took place or is taking place in New York City yesterday over some loud reactions that he had to E. Jean Carroll's testimony, claiming that he ruined her reputation after she accused him of sexual abuse. Also, Fani Willis, who has relished in the fact that she is prosecuting Donald Trump, reportedly has been having an affair with one of the attorneys she hired. The question, should she be removed from the case? House Republicans pursuing the impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas demanded yesterday that he submit written testimony, warning that it was his last chance to answer for his handling of the southern border crisis. Vice President Kamala Harris called President Biden extraordinarily smart amid concerns and further questions from voters about the commander-in-chief's age heading into the 2024 election. Federal investigators asked banks to search and filter customer transactions by using terms like MAGA and Trump as part of an investigation into January 6, warning that purchases of religious text could indicate extremism. The House Judiciary Committee revealed this in a letter released yesterday as well. And Congressman Jeff Duncan from South Carolina's 3rd District has announced that he will not seek re-election.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
On our guest line this morning, Senator Tim Scott.
Thank you for listening to one of the best radio shows. Joey, God bless your leadership.
Joey, congratulations on your new show.
I just wanted to let you know that I always appreciate your perspective and your common sense approach to the issues.
You know what? If people like you keep telling us the truth, believe me, we're paying close attention.
Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Well, it was certainly good to get back home late last night as I was trying to get out of Iowa. You know, that seemed to be the common theme with the bad weather out there. A lot of flights canceled, delayed, and people trying to get back home. I had a buddy of mine who texted me late last night saying he was still stranded in Des Moines. My flight was scheduled to leave at 7:30 a.m. It was canceled, and luckily was able to get on one later in the afternoon at 5:55, which put me back home, though, at past midnight. But I'm glad to be here, for sure. With 6 days to go until New Hampshire's primary, and I'll be up there as well. Hopefully the travel will be a little bit easier. A new poll giving us a direction or giving us a glimpse into what to expect next Tuesday as people in New Hampshire go and cast their ballots. Now, of course, New Hampshire is a primary, unlike the caucuses that we witnessed in Iowa last week. Trump, who is running a third straight time for the White House, has about 50% of support among those likely to vote in next Tuesday's New Hampshire GOP presidential primary. Now, wouldn't that be something? He broke records in Iowa by getting 51%. Wouldn't it be something if he gets over 50% in New Hampshire as well? Does that mean that this race, this primary for the GOP nomination this summer is done? We'll talk a little about that. Nikki Haley, of course, who served as Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, she stands at a pretty solid 34%, with Ron DeSantis at a mere 5%. 6% said that they were undecided. 3% said that they were backing another candidate altogether. This poll was conducted Monday and Tuesday evenings during and after Trump scored his massive victory in Monday's Iowa caucuses. Trump is literally just smashed the competition in Iowa, as you know. However, New Hampshire has a very different electorate than Iowa. Moderate voters in the Granite State are highly influential. The state has a lot of independents who can vote in either major party primary, and they've long played a crucial role in New Hampshire's presidential contest. It's always the first primary. Of course, as you know, the Democrats are not having a primary. They have skipped New Hampshire to come to South Carolina next month. The new poll shows that Trump has a massive 61% to 34% lead over Haley among registered Republicans. But again, I guess that's a pretty strong showing for Nikki Haley. She has received the endorsement of Governor Chris Sununu and has spent a lot of time in New Hampshire. She has to do well if she's going to survive to come home to South Carolina, where she's hoping to get a victory. I'm not quite sure that's going to happen, but we'll see. That's a topic for another day. While President Trump holds this commanding 6 to 18% lead over his former UN ambassador among self-described conservatives, Haley leads 56 to 27% among those who consider themselves moderate or liberal. No surprise there, is it? Suffolk University Political Research Center Director David Pelagas said that Trump is pulling out Republicans and male independents. He noted that Haley is beating Trump 2-1 among moderates and female independents. That seems to be her strong point. The survey, which questioned 500 likely GOP primary voters in New Hampshire, had an overall sampling error of minus 4.4%. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Love to get your comments on the Ferman Ford text line. Just send me a quick text, or you can also leave me a quick message as well. And your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. So Vice President Kamala Harris called President Biden extraordinarily smart this week amid concerns from voters about our commander-in-chief's age heading into the November general election. Biden would be 86 years old at the end of his second term if he's elected in November. It'd be the oldest president to serve in the Oval Office. A recent ABC News Ipsos poll found that only 28% of those surveyed believe that Biden has the mental sharpness to complete another 4 years. This number is down dramatically from May of 2020, when 50% of Americans had faith in Biden's ability to lead our country. During an interview this week, when the vice president sat down with her buddies over at The View, she explained that she has full confidence in Joe Biden's ability to serve another term.
Well, first of all, let me just address the issue directly, because I spend a lot of time with our president, be it in the Oval Office, the Situation Room, you name it. We have a president in Joe Biden who is forward-thinking in a way that we've not seen in a long time. I mean, this is a president, many people talked about taking on the issue of the climate crisis. We were talking about young voters. Because this president was relentless in saying we must do something about it, we are in the process of investing over $1 trillion in the climate crisis. This is a president who said we need to take on the issue of student loan debt, in spite of many members of Congress who fought against it. This is a president who said, everybody, including the person you were just talking about, kept talking about infrastructure week, which, by the way, never happened. No, he did. Joe Biden, because of not only his knowledge, but his insistence on seeing things through, we have passed a bipartisan infrastructure law such that there are now 50 active projects throughout the country, infrastructure projects that are about upgrading our roads and bridges and airports.
That Republicans who voted against it are taking credit for it.
But of course they are. But, Joe Biden, I've been in the Oval Office where heads of various countries, allies, have called literally to ask Joe Biden for his advice. So why are they doing it, Joy? Because they have nothing to run on.
Thank you.
They have nothing to run on.
That's right. They have no policy.
Where's the plan? Right? And so that's what's happening. And I think that it is... Sadly, there is a push from so many people in that lane to try to divide our country and distract from the real issues.
Yeah.
And that we would have people who call themselves leaders who are actually focused on solutions that relate to the lives of everyday Americans instead of just slinging accusations that have no merit.
Yeah, just slinging the accusations that have no merit. Wouldn't you love to know who those foreign leaders that the vice president referenced, who calls Joe Biden for his advice? Wouldn't you love to know who they are? And I guess they have to call him between 11 a.m. and 2 or so, because that's sort of his day. He doesn't get started too early and he doesn't work too late. A Monmouth University poll released back in the fall found that 76% of voters agreed Biden was too old to serve another term, compared to just 48% who said the same about former President Donald Trump at the age of 77. Another poll from October, the New York Times Siena College revealed that 71% of respondents believe Biden is too old as well. Among Biden's own supporters, solid Democrats, 54% still say he's too old for the job. And we think that the Democrats are going to nominate him for another term in the summer. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I don't think it's going to be Joe Biden. It's going to get quite interesting. It's always a pleasure to talk with you each day from the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. Special thanks for the great partnership we have with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. 3 years ago, I was very fortunate that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team, and I was able to lose 30 pounds in just about 3 months or so. And over 3 years later, soon going to be 4, because I started in July. So this July, it'll be 4 years I've been able to maintain that 30-pound loss, because it's not a fad diet. It's not a situation where you lose the weight, then you put it right back on, because they teach you about the science of nutrition. That's what this whole program that Dr. Ashley Lucas has put together is about, the science of nutrition, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. Let me encourage you to make that call. If you too would like to lose weight, call 864-252-4925, set up that appointment, go in, sit down and talk with them and see if this program's right for you. If you want to lose weight and get healthy in 2024, this is the way to do it. You can find them online as well at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So some breaking news, and this is disturbing news. Federal investigators asked banks to search and filter customer transactions by using terms like MAGA and Trump as part of an investigation into the January 6th protest, warning that purchases, now listen to this, that purchases of religious text could indicate extremism, according to the House Judiciary Committee that revealed this letter yesterday. Fox News Digital is reporting that the documents released indicate officials suggested that banks run queries on transactions with keywords like Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, and more. The House Judiciary Committee and its subcommittee on weaponization of the federal government have been conducting an oversight of federal law enforcement's, quote, receipt of information about American citizens without legal process and its engagement with the private sector. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan said that the documents obtained by his committee indicate that after January the 6th, the Treasury Department's Office of Stakeholder Integration and Engagement in Strategic Operations of Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, now that is a mouthful, or FinCEN as it's known, distributed materials to various financial institutions that outlined typologies and various persons of interest and provided the banks with suggested search terms and merchant category codes for identifying transactions on behalf of the federal law enforcement agency. The materials included a document recommending the use of generic terms like Trump and MAGA for them to search Zelle payment messages, as well as a prior FinCEN analysis of lone actor homegrown violent extremism indicators. Think about this. I mean, some of your bank records, some of the charges, let's say you went to Cabela's to buy some fishing supplies or hunting supplies, or you went there to buy a firearm or a hunting rifle. Jordan detailed in a letter to the former director of FinCEN, Noah Bischoff, a career bureaucrat. He said, according to this analysis, FinCEN warned financial institutions of extremism indicators that include transportation charges like bus tickets, rental cars, or plane tickets for travel areas with no apparent purpose, or the purchase of books, including religious texts and subscriptions to other media containing extremist views, he said. In other words, FinCEN used large financial institutions like Bank of America to comb through the private transactions of their customers for suspicious charges, or at least what they consider suspicious charges, on the basis of protected political and religious expression. Jordan and his committee are requesting that Bischoff appear for a transcribed interview on the matter, saying that he may possess information necessary for their oversight. Jordan said the committee obtained documents showing that FinCEN distributed slides prepared by Key Bank to other banks to explain how they could use merchant category codes to detect customers whose transactions may reflect, quote, potential active shooters, and who may include dangerous international terrorists, domestic terrorists, homegrown violence extremists. Now, they're checking our credit card transactions because they're worried about terrorists and domestic terrorists, yet our borders have been open since Joe Biden took office. Does this make any sense to you at all? Representative Jordan said that the slide instructs financial institutions to run searches for transportation using certain MCC codes like 3484 small arms, 5091 sporting and recreational goods and supplies. These are codes. The numbers to 3484 is a code. And you know, we talked about this back last year when credit card companies suggested they were going to start adding more categories, particularly when it related to firearms. Keywords like Cabela's and Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro Shops, and other stores where people could purchase firearms and other gear that the federal government believes could have been used or could be used in domestic attacks. A source familiar with the documents told Fox News Digital that while January 6th was the impetus for the queries and searches, none of the documents the committee has obtained reveal any specific time frame or limitations for banks searching customer transactions with these terms. The source said that the federal government used the information for investigations beyond January the 6th. It's kind of like, well, we did it for this particular date because of the protest. We'll just keep doing it. We'll just keep tracking how people are spending their own money. Jordan wrote, this kind of pervasive financial surveillance carried out in coordination with and at the request of the federal law enforcement into Americans' private transactions is alarming and raises serious doubts about FinCEN's respect for fundamental liberties. It is alarming. It's very alarming to think that the federal government is tracking things that I charge on my personal credit card. And shame on the banks that participate. It's the big banks. It's Bank of America and those large banks. It's not your local community banks, I can promise you that. That's why you should use banks like the Bank of Travelers Rest, locally owned, and they are part of the community. In a letter to the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, Jordan requested a transcribed interview with the senior private sector partner for outreach in the strategic partner engagement section of the FBI. Peter Sullivan's his name. Jordan said the committee has received testimony indicating that Bank of America provided the FBI with a list of individuals who made transactions in the Washington, D.C. metro area voluntarily and without any legal process in area using a Bank of America credit or debit card between January the 5th and January the 7th. Bank of America back in November said the bank followed all applicable laws in its interactions with the government. The bank noted that the Treasury Department on January the 15th of 2021 shared information regarding potential criminal activity that could disrupt the upcoming inauguration. Jordan said that the committees obtained documents that show FBI personnel, including this Peter Sullivan, made contact with and provided Bank of America with specific search query terms indicating that it was interested in all financial relationships of Bank of America customers transacting in Washington, D.C., and customers who had made any historical purchase of a firearm or who had purchased a hotel, Airbnb, or airline travel within that given date range. Jordan said that also the committee obtained documents indicating that the FBI personnel in the Office of Private Sector prepared an official report that broadly characterized certain political beliefs as indicative of domestic violent extremism. Jordan has asked the FBI to make Sullivan available for a transcribed interview and requested it be scheduled before January the 31st, saying that his testimony will help inform the committee and the select subcommittee about the FBI's mass accumulation of the use of Americans' private information without legal process. The FBI's protocols, if any, to safeguard Americans' privacy and constitutional rights in the receipt and use of such information, and the FBI's general engagement with the private sector on law enforcement matters. Does this concern you as much as it concerns me? I mean, we kind of suspect that things like this happen, but when you read about it and you learn the extremes that they took, and the fact that they may still be doing this. This is centered on that January 6th time period, but it also leads you to believe that they went well past that time period leading up to the inauguration. Who's to say they've ever stopped? 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Ferman Ford text line. House Republicans pursuing the impeachment of Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas demanded yesterday that he submit written testimony warning that it was his last chance to answer for his handling of the southern border crisis. In this statement, House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green, he's a Republican from Tennessee, said the committee has given Secretary Mayorkas chance after chance to appear and explain his actions, his decisions, and statements to us and to the American people. Over the past several months, he has rejected those offers, resorting instead to political games and delays. We would have liked to include his oral testimony in the official record of these historic proceedings, he said. Green said his committee will not accept indefinite delays and that the request for written testimony from Secretary Mayorkas is his last chance to show some semblance of respect for the people's representatives and our constitutional oversight duties, he said. He said the American people are begging for Congress to act, and we'll heed that call, he said. Congressional oversight will continue with or without Secretary Mayorkas' cooperation. Now, in a letter to Mayorkas, Green added that the Secretary has evaded every invitation for almost a half a year to testify before his committee. Mayorkas informed Green last week that he would be unable to attend today's second public hearing in the impeachment probe since he was hosting a delegation of Mexican officials on the same day. Now, what's the do you see the irony there? That this committee is investigating, potentially going to impeach Mayorkas because of his dealing with our southern border, and he's evading the committee's hearings because he has meeting with Mexican officials? DHS Press Secretary Mia Ehrenberg said it's abundantly clear that they are not interested in hearing from Secretary Mayorkas since it doesn't fit into their bad faith, predetermined, and unconstitutional rush to impeach him. Last week, the Secretary offered to testify publicly, she said, before the committee. In the time since, the committee failed to respond to DHS to find a mutually agreeable date. Instead, they provided this offer of written testimony to the media before any outreach to the department. She is dismissing the chairman's statement and request for written testimony as just the latest example of committee Republicans' sham process. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has apprehended, as you know, well over 8 million plus. We don't really know how many. The number right now stands at 8.5 million since Joe Biden took office in January 2021. Of those, 7 million were encountered after entering the country from Mexico. During a recent meeting at the overrun entry port of Eagle Pass, Texas, Mayorkas told border agents that more than 85% of those asylum seekers are being released into the U.S. They come into the country, they get a bus ticket or an airline ticket to the city of their choice, and then allowed to roam freely within our country. There's an additional approximation of 1.5 million gotaways, the migrants who evaded Border Patrol agents. Again, I don't know how you estimate that. If they were able to evade the Border Patrol agents, how do we know that it's just 1.5 million? Could be more. Could be a lot more. There are 3 Republican state attorney generals who told Green's committee during last week's hearing that the Homeland Security Secretary had failed to enforce border laws and misled Congress by saying the administration has operational control of the border. The state attorney generals, Austin Knudsen of Montana, Gentner Drummond of Oklahoma, and Andrew Bailey of Missouri, noted that spiking rates of drug trafficking and related deaths in their particular states as a result of bogus asylum claims allowed by Biden's border czar. Attorney General Knudsen told a panel of the House members, Secretary Mayorkas is the architect of that destruction the American people are watching. They know that our border was secure just a few years ago. The conclusion is clear. Secretary Mayorkas has violated his oath. I urge this body to impeach him. The House of Representatives last impeached a cabinet official under President Ulysses Grant when Secretary of War William Belknap confessed to receiving kickback payments from military suppliers in March of 1876. So it's been a while. Been a few years. Belknap resigned hours before the House voted on 5 articles of impeachment against him, but the Secretary was later acquitted by the Senate. And that's probably what would happen now, realistically, because I don't know that there's any Democrats who would vote to convict Mayorkas. I don't even think West Virginia Joe Manchin would go for that. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is the person who introduced the impeachment resolution against Mayorkas back in November, but it was blocked by the House Democrats and 8 GOP members who voted to refer it to the Homeland Security Committee. Committee Democrats have described the House Republican effort to impeach the secretary as a political stunt, with ranking member Benny Thompson, the Democrat from Mississippi, saying that Greene had promised to impeach the secretary well before even starting an investigation into his implementation of immigration policies. During last week's hearing, University of Missouri School of Law professor Frank Bowman testified that the Homeland Security Secretary's actions did not reach the constitutional threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors required to impeach someone. 864-477-JOEY. 864-477-5639 is how you can text on the Ferman Ford text line. I'd love to get your comments on that. You can also leave a quick voice message as well. The chief prosecutor in Georgia that's spearheading the racketeering case against President Donald Trump, we have learned that she is having an affair with a lawyer she hired, according to Michael Roman, a Trump co-defendant. Legal experts say the arrangement jeopardizes her legal future. Portions of today's show brought to you by Ferman Ford. If you want to deal with local businesses, support locally run businesses like we should, keep the money right here in the upstate, then Ferman Ford is who you need to be purchasing your next vehicle from, either a new vehicle or a great pre-owned vehicle, or maybe you need service and you don't want to have to wait weeks to get your vehicle serviced. Doesn't have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Ferman Ford, they do business the right way. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line. And that means when you stop in or you give them a call or you send them an email, you always have access to a member of the Ferman family. Jim Ferman, Matthew Ferman, they're always there to take good care of you. Ferman Ford, find them in Lawrence and online at fermanford.com, fermanford.com. So Fani Willis, who just loves the idea that she's prosecuting Donald Trump, this is her 15 minutes of fame. According to court documents filed earlier this month by Roman, Fani Willis, who brought election interference-related charges against Trump, has been having a, quote, improper affair with special prosecutor Nathan Wade, whom she hired to help prosecute the 2024 GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. According to the court documents, Mr. Wade, who has no RICO and felony prosecution experience, has billed taxpayers of Georgia $654,000 since January of 2022. Roman's filings alleges that Wade billed Fulton County for 24 hours of work on a single day in November 2021, shortly after being appointed as a special prosecutor, and that Willis financially benefited from her alleged lover's padded taxpayer-funded salary by taking lavish vacations together on his dime. So she hired him. She's paid him an outrageous amount of money so they can go on vacation together. That's just to sum it up. The New York Post reported that Mr. Wade was billing the DA's office nearly double what another prosecutor and RICO expert on the team, John Floyd, has billed a lot less, and he knows something about RICO, whereas Mr. Wade does not. Mr. Wade's never been involved in RICO trials. Willis addressed the allegations for the first time at Big Bethel AME Church in Atlanta this past Sunday. She said they only attacked one. First thing they say, oh, she's got to play the race card now. But no, God, isn't it them that's playing the race card when they only questioned one, she said. You cannot expect black women to be perfect and save the world, Willis said to the congregation, adding that we need to be allowed to stumble. We need grace. Well, look, I'm all about grace, and God gives us grace. God gives us grace that we don't deserve sometimes. But you can't hide behind God's grace when you have been taking advantage of the system, when you have been cheating the very people that you're supposed to be serving. Fox News reports that Fani Willis has not denied the allegations, has not denied that she's having an affair with this guy. Jonathan Turley, who of course is a practicing criminal defense attorney and a professor at George Washington University of Law, told Fox News these types of allegations are rarely resolved in the wholesale rejection of a criminal case. He said there are various remedies that the court can order. He went on to say, I think it would be foolish to count on a dismissal of the case based on these allegations, but said that it could be possible that they would just find another prosecutor to prosecute the case. He said an interesting dynamic is whether a different prosecutor would actually pursue Willis's sweeping claims. And that's a good question, because a prosecutor who doesn't have the bias that Fani Willis has may look at the case and have enough common sense to realize there's nothing here. Fani Willis has just been on a personal vendetta against Donald Trump because she does not like Donald Trump. So the question is, would another prosecutor in good faith move forward on the racketeering claim? Turley added that the ultimate standard in deciding how the case moves forward is what is in the public interest. And I can promise you, paying Fani Willis's boyfriend over $600,000 so they can take some vacations is not in the public interest. Quick update. An aide to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin asked EMTs responding to the Secretary's home to be subtle, according to new audio that was just released of the 911 call. The aide requested that the ambulance not use its sirens or lights during the trip to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. These newly released 911 this newly released 911 call is the latest development in Austin's secret hospital visit, which was kept even from President Biden and other top members of the administration.
911, where is your emergency?
On the audio recording obtained by CBS News, an aide to Lloyd Austin asks that the first responders be discreet when they pick up the Secretary of Defense.
Can I ask, can the ambulance not show up with lights and sirens? We're trying to remain a little subtle.
Yeah, I understand. Usually when they turn into a residential neighborhood, they'll turn them off, but they're required by law to run with them with the main streets.
Okay.
The call was made on New Year's Day after Austin developed severe pain from a urinary tract infection following prostate cancer surgery the week before.
Is he reporting any chest pain at all?
No.
Okay. Did he pass out, or does he feel like he's going to pass out?
No.
Okay. And like you said, he's awake, he's alert and oriented, he's not confused or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
The secretary had not shared his cancer diagnosis with the president, and the Pentagon went 3 days without informing the White House that he was hospitalized. Austin took full responsibility for the secrecy and said he could have done a better job.
Secretary Austin arrived at the hospital on New Year's Day, stayed for 2 weeks before being released on Tuesday. He's expected to work from home for a period of time. The secretary will recuperate and perform his duties remotely for a period of time before returning full-time to the Pentagon. He has full access to required secure communications capability, the Pentagon said in a statement. Doctors offered information on the nature of his stay after he was released this week. Dr. John Maddox, trauma medical director, and Dr. Gregory Chestnut, director of the Center for Prostate Disease Research, said he did not undergo surgery. In their statement, it said Secretary Austin progressed well throughout his stay, and his strength is rebounding. He underwent a series of medical tests and evaluations and received non-surgical care during his stay to address his medical needs, to include resolving some lingering leg pains. It was confirmed that Austin had been diagnosed with prostate cancer last week, despite the apparent lack of communication. President Biden told a group of reporters outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, that he has confidence in Austin as he resumes his duties as defense secretary. President, when was asked, he asked if he was confident in his ability to do his job. He said, "Yes, I do." On the Ferman Ford text line, Dom says, "Hey, Joey, I just heard that it's your birthday, or was. Well, happy birthday, my friend. I hope the year to come is healthy and safe for you and your family. Be well and stay safe." Thank you, Dom. Yes, the 16th was my birthday, and I spent it in Des Moines, Iowa. Bonnie writes, "Hold Hunter in contempt. He absolutely doesn't deserve any grace with how he's acted. He's only offering to go in now, so he'll not be charged. They need to stop playing games with him and nail him to the wall." Our text of encouragement today: life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. God bless. Thank you for that. Your comments are welcome on the Ferman Ford text line as well. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. You can also leave a quick voice message as well. So a judge threatened to bar President Donald Trump from his civil trial in New York City yesterday over his loud reactions to E. Jean Carroll's testimony, claiming that he ruined her reputation after she accused him of sexual abuse. Portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Do you need a new refrigerator, stove, washer, dryer? Are you tired of buying appliances from its inexperienced sales staff who have no appliance knowledge? Well, that's why you need to head over to Pickens and meet my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, where they'll treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, nearly perfect reviews on Google, and the team, Jeff and Johnny and the whole team over there, they have the knowledge that you need to have confidence in your purchase. Appliances are not inexpensive, and you want to get it right the first time. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, and extended warranties. They've got you covered well after the sale. Discounted Appliance Warehouse. It's worth the short drive to Pickens. Find them online at DAWPickens.com. Pickens.com, DAWPickens.com. So Judge Lewis Kaplan sort of slapped Trump on the hands for his audible reactions to Carroll's testimony in front of the jury, threatening that the former president could be barred from the trial if he continues. Trump was heard saying, "That's not true. It's a witch hunt, and it really is a con job," during Carroll's testimony yesterday. After the jury was excused for lunch, Kaplan told Trump that his right to be present during the trial could be forfeited if he is disrupted. "Mr. Trump, I hope I don't have to consider excluding you from the trial," Kaplan said in exchange after the jury was excused for lunch. "I understand you're probably eager for me to do that. I would love it," Trump responded from the defense table. "I know you would like it. You just can't control yourself in this circumstance, apparently," Judge Kaplan said. Trump muttered before walking out, "You can't either." The judge attempted to crack down on Trump speaking loudly while conferring with his lawyers after Carroll's lawyer complained about the remarks for a second time. Carroll testified about the various threats she has received since she accused Trump of sexually assaulting her in a department store dressing room in 1990s, including death threats and threats of rape. When asked if she regretted her decision, Carroll said, "Only momentarily. I'm very glad I came forward." Carroll is seeking $10 million in compensatory damages and millions more in punitive damages. Congressman Jeff Duncan issued the following statement regarding his decision to not seek re-election for an 8th term to the U.S. House of Representatives from South Carolina's 3rd District. He said, "After 9/11, I felt a calling to serve my state or nation in some capacity. Serving in both the South Carolina State Legislature and the U.S. House of Representatives has been the culmination of that calling. I am blessed to have worked with amazing men and women in Congress. None have been more impressive than my D.C. and district staff, serving the constituents of the Palmetto State with efficiency and dedication. I'm proud of my conservative voting record and the opportunities over these 14 years to lead the state and nation on many issues important to South Carolina and the United States, especially in fiscal responsibility and American energy. At some point in a career, one needs to step aside and allow others to bring fresh ideas and abilities into the fight for liberty, just as I have. Representing the 3rd District of South Carolina in this capacity has been a privilege and an honor," he said. "Now it's time for another man or woman to serve our district in the next Congress. I will not seek re-election to the U.S. House of Representatives." The Hill wrote, Duncan's announcement follows a statement he posted back last fall that his family was dealing with a difficult and private moment, adding, "I'm not going to comment on a deeply personal matter." Around the same time, news had broke that Duncan's wife was seeking a divorce and had accused him of engaging in several affairs, according to the Lawrence County Advertiser. Duncan went to Congress after having served in the South Carolina House of Representatives for 8 years. He serves on the Energy and Commerce Committee and is the chairman of the subcommittee on energy, climate, and grid security. He is a member of the House Freedom Caucus, branded himself as a fiscal conservative on Capitol Hill, advocating for steep spending cuts and reining in federal spending. He nodded to that conservative record in his statement yesterday. So Jeff Duncan not running for re-election, which has opened up a lot of discussion on who will actually run. It'll be an interesting race. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Please join our mailing list. Just go to my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Keep your comments coming on the Ferman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Keep your emails coming as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. One final thing, if you're enjoying Just the Truth, let me ask you to do me a favor. Forward it to a friend or two or three. Let them know that we have a great community here, and we'd love for them to join us each day. So just forward it to them. Ask them to give it a try. We're back tomorrow. Appreciate you being with me. Remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.